and our honoree for the resolution presentation we will be doing today. So before we move forward, I'd just like to let you guys know that uh, due to the excused absence of our floor leader, Representative Ralph Yumo, I've appointed our good chairman from Rhoda, Representative Donald Manglonia, to be our floor leader for today's session. And without further ado, I now call this second day, first special session to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, and I ask that you please keep our good colleague, Representative John Paul Sablan, and his family in his prayers as his mother passed away earlier this morning. Thank you. Before we move forward with the roll call, colleagues, after the roll call, we will take a short recess for a resolution presentation. I now recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Ada. Representative Atal.
Present.
Representative Selena Babauta.
Presente.
Representative Sheila Babauta. Representative Joel Komatsu.
Yeah.
Representative Vicente Komatsu.
Present.
Representative Angel Demapan.
Still.
Representative Flores.
Present.
Representative Guerrero. Representative Lizama.
Present.
Representative Magofnia.
Present.
Representative Manglonia.
Present.
Representative Probst.
Present.
Representative Christina Sablan.
Here.
Representative John Paul Sablan. Representative San Nicolas.
Present.
Representative Staffler.
Present.
Representative Villagomez. Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Representative Yang Tamay.
Nangi.
Representative Yumo. Mr. Speaker, 17 members are present and 3 members are absent.
Thank you, clerk. Can you repeat that number again?
17 members are present and 3 members are absent.
Thank you, clerk. With 17 members present and 3 absent, this constitutes a quorum. Please note that Representatives Sheila Babauta, Representatives John Paul Sablan, and Representative Yumo are hereby excused for today's session. And before we move forward, I also like to recognize the presence of former Representative Andrew Salas. Thank you, members. We will now take a recess for the resolution presentation.
Lieutenant Governor, families of Mr. Pedro Tudela, on behalf of the 22nd Northern Marianas Commonwealth Legislature We would be honored to present to you House Resolution number 22-16. I'm just gonna read the title and then yeah, bunch of kind words for you. No? To recognize and acknowledge Mr. Pedro Joaquin Tedela for his tremendous contribution in protecting, promoting, propagating, and preserving our native plant species and our natural environment in the Commonwealth, and for his passion, devotion, and commitment to in his workplace. Dung, we are so forever grateful. We see you out there. Your hard work is a testament to a lot of our government employees that you exemplify the work of our government here in the Commonwealth. We are proud and honored to present this resolution on your behalf and to your other half and your family, Uncle Frank, Forestry, for all the help that you do in preserving our natural environment. We're really proud of the work you do and honored to present this to you. And if you have any words to say,
Good morning, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming. Buenos Danofide. My name is Pedro Tudela. I am overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive the House Resolution Award today. First and foremost, I would like to thank the 22nd Legislature and most especially the hardworking people in this House for the recognition of my hard work and dedication here in the beautiful island of Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. Also, I would like to thank my supervisor, Mr. Frank Ada, for always motivating me and pushing me to do my best in my work, and to my family and friends as well. Before I end my speech, I would love to share something I always kept in mind. This life is yours. Take the power to choose what you want to do and do it well. Take the power to love what you want in life and love it honestly. Take the power to walk in the forest and be part of the nature. Take the power to control your own life. No one else can do it for you. Take the power to make your life happy. I plant a lot of trees. I am a great believer in planting things for future generation. I loathe the now culture where you just live for today. You have to get up and plant the seed and see if it grows. But you can't just wait around. You have to water it and take care of a lifetime. You never finish. I hope that while so many people are out smelling the flowers, someone is taking the time to plant some. And again, thank you, Second Legislature, for your hard work and the team.
And congratulations again, Mr. Pedro Tudela, for all your hard work. We now rise back to session. We now move down to item number 2, public comments. And the floor is open for public comments. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Oh, hold on. My bad. Since we have to remember that the clerk and the legal counsel is very vital to the session. So my apologies for that inconvenience. Floor is open for public comments. Please state your name and the entity you represent, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you. Floor is open. I see that no one in the public will be coming up for public comments. We now move down to item number 3, adoption of journals. And under adoption of journals, we have none. So we'll move down to item number 4, introduction of bills. And I recognize the Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Formally introducing House Bill number 22-99, entitled to amend 1 CMC Division 6, elections specifically, subsections 6213, 6222, 6521A, 6524A, and 6528F of the Commonwealth Code, and for other purposes, introduced by myself and several others. And I'm open for any other co-authors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. House Bill number 22-99 will be referred to the Committee on JGO. I now recognize Representative Leila Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. I am excuse me. I am introducing House Bill number 22-100 to further enable recruitment, retention, and appropriate classification and compensation of Medicaid personnel and for other purposes, pre-filed by myself and others, and always welcome additional sponsors. And yes, this is a refile.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. House Bill number 22-100 will be referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. I now recognize Representative and Leader, Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This time I'd like to introduce House Bill number 22-101 to provide a tax incentive for business entities that hire qualified ex-offenders and for other purposes, pre-filed by myself and available for others to co-sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader Angel Demapan. House Bill 22-101 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. With no further House bills for introduction, we now move down to item B, House local bills. And I recognize again Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'd like to introduce House Local Bill 22-32 to reappropriate $1,016 allotted under Saipan Local Law 19-2, specifically under Business Unit 3400, to reappropriate $1,016 allotted under Saipan Local Law 19-2, specifically under Business Unit 3400X, $12 allotted under Saipan Law 19-2, specifically Business Unit 3500A, $16,000 allotted under Saipan Local Law 19-24, specifically under Business Unit 7177L, $13,173 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-4, specifically under Business Unit 3754, $42,059 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-26, specifically under Business Unit 7190B, and $79,171 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-26, specifically under Business Unit 7186X, and for other purposes, pre-filed by myself and several others, and open for others to co-sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader Demapan. With no further House local bills, we move down to item C, House legislative initiatives, and we have none. We now move down to item number 5, introduction of resolutions, and I recognize Representative Leila Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to introduce House Resolution 22-18 to recognize Community College Month in the month of April and to commend the Northern Marianas College for the reaffirmation of its accreditation for a historic 8-year term and its contributions to the workforce development needs of the Commonwealth. I am introducing this for myself and all others, and if I may ask this to be a committee of the whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Leila Staffler. House Resolution 22-18 is now hereby introduced as a whole and will be placed on resolution calendar for action today. Representative Leila, you still have the floor.
Thank you, sir. This is now introducing House Resolution number 22-19 to honor Ms. Aiko Mihara for reaching the delightful age of 100 years old. Pre-filed by myself and others, and also welcome this to be Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. House Resolution 22-19 is now hereby introduced as a whole and will be placed on today's calendar for action. With no other items under House Joint Resolution, commemorative resolutions, and concurrent resolutions, we now move down to item number 6, messages from the governor, and we have none. Item number 7, Senate communications. I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 7, we have just one item, Senate Communication 22-93.
Thank you, clerk. I now recognize the floor leader for the proper motion to accept Senate communications. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House accept Senate Communication 22-93 to become the property of the House. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to accept Senate Communication 22-93 and has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor to accept Senate Communication 22-93, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Senate Communication 22-93 is hereby the property of the House. Thank you, members. We now move down to item number 8, House Communications, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 8, House Communications, we have one item, House Communication 22-80.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under House Communications? None? Okay, ready? Under item number 9, we have none. Under item number 10, we also have none. Under miscellaneous communications, we have none. We now move down to item number 12, reports on standing committee, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 12, reports of standing committees, we have one item for House Action, Standing Committee Report 22-44.
Thank you, clerk. I would now like to recognize the floor leader for the adoption motion for the Standing Committee Report 22-44. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-44, reporting on House Bill number 22-80, entitled "To Have the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, CNMI, join the Psychology Interjurisdictional Compact, or SIPAC, to improve and expand access to mental health care in the CNMI and for other purposes."
Thank you, floor leader. Motion has been made by the floor leader to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-44 and has been seconded. Any discussions? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, in preparing this committee report, your Health and Welfare Committee reviewed written and oral comments that were received on the bill from practicing psychologists licensed in the CNMI, as well as comments from the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, the Community Guidance Center, the Healthcare Professions Licensing Board, among other stakeholders. The committee conducted several public meetings and received testimonies on the bill during committee hearings as well. Additionally, several members of the committee, myself included, attended a meeting of the Healthcare Professions Licensing Board, which had placed review of the bill on their agenda that day earlier this month, or last month, I should say, to share our own comments on the bill and answer questions of the board, which would play a significant role in overseeing the implementation of SIPAC here in the CNMI. And finally, we closely reviewed SIPAC informational resources available online at the SIPAC website, and looked at the increasing number of states, now more than half of the states in the country, that have enacted legislation to participate in SIPAC. The CNMI, for the members' information, would be the first among the territories to join SIPAC if this bill is signed into law. I do want to offer just a very minor technical correction to the committee report, if I may, Mr. Speaker. On page 2 of the report, at the very bottom of the page, second line to the last, the word being should actually read become. And if that could just be considered technical for the clerk to make before the report is transmitted, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
I yield.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Legal counsel and clerk, please note that as a technical. Thank you. Recognize floor leader.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker and members. Your House Committee, in regards to Standing Committee Report number 22-44, your House Committee on Health and Welfare recommends that the House passes House Bill number 22-80 in its current form with the technical amendments made by Rep. Sablan.
Okay, thank you, floor leader. Any further discussion? Ready? All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-44, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-44 is hereby adopted. Thank you, members. And with no further Standing Committee reports, we now move down to item number 13, reports of special and conference committees. We have none. We now move down to item number 14, unfinished business. We have none. We now move down to item number 15, resolution calendar, and I would like to recognize the floor leader for the proper motions. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution number 22-08, a Senate Joint Resolution requesting the Governor and the Secretary of Finance to provide financial assistance to meet the increased demand of fuel costs in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands by implementing a $500 fuel voucher program. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to adopt Senate Joint Resolution number 22-08 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? I recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I fully support this joint resolution and want to thank our colleagues in the Senate, and particularly Senator Edith De Leon Guerrero, for championing this form of relief. We all know and have felt the pain ourselves of rising gas prices in the CNMI, and this would help. This would alleviate some of that pain at the gas pump. I do want to note that we also have a House Joint Resolution that is still pending in the Senate that proposes a new local stimulus in the form of not debit cards, but cash payments to qualified taxpayers in the CNMI as well as their dependents. And I'd like to ask our Senate colleagues to consider that resolution and pass that as well. The administration has so far at least acknowledged that there is a need for a local stimulus. It sounds like they're still leaning in the direction of debit cards, which we know came with all kinds of inconveniences and hardships. And now we're learning from constituents about debit cards that have expired and they weren't aware that there was an expiration date to the funds that they've been saving. All of these inconveniences would not be an issue if we would just give taxpayers who need this assistance the freedom and the flexibility to decide how these funds should be spent. So I wanted to state that for the record and ask our colleagues also for your assistance in reaching out to the Senate to show their support for this, for a new local stimulus that our people really need. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to enter for the record that there might be a possible conflict of interest, so I will be abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you, floor leader. Any further discussions on the floor? Ready? I recognize recognize Representative Alicat. Oh, you okay? Thank you. I now recognize the clerk for the roll call.
Representative Fata,
Yes.
Representative Fatao,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babauta,
Hunggan.
Representative Joel Camacho,
Hunggan.
Representative Vicente Camacho,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Hunggan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero, Representative Zama,
Yes.
Representative Magovnia,
Hunggan.
Representative Manglonia,
Abstain.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan?
Yes.
Representative St. Nicholas?
Ngan.
Representative Staffler?
Ngan.
Representative Young Tamay?
Aware.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 16 members voted yes and one abstention.
Thank you, Clerk. With 16 members voting in favor and one abstention, Senate Joint Resolution 22-08 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now move for the adoption of House Resolution number 22-18, a House resolution to recognize Community College Month in the month of April and to commend the Northern Marianas College for the reaffirmation of its accreditation for a historic 8-year term and its contributions to the workforce development needs of the Commonwealth. So moved.
Thank you, Floor Leader. I hope a motion has been made to adopt House Resolution number 22-18 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? I recognize Representative Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. And colleagues, if you recognize the language of that bill, yes, I am reintroducing a House resolution versus a joint resolution. It was error on my part, which I accept and acknowledge, because in order for this resolution to be ready for presentation by Friday, we needed to make sure that it was a House resolution and not a joint one, because the Senate was not going to meet in time. So I thank you for your indulgence and forgive my error. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. You are forgiven. Any more discussions on the floor? Ready? Okay. All in favor to adopt House Resolution number 22-18, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 22-18 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now move for the adoption of House Resolution number 22-19, a House resolution to honor Mrs. Aiko Mihara for reaching the delightful age of 100 years old. So moved.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made to adopt House Resolution number 22-19 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? I recognize Representative Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. And I want to thank all the colleagues for coming together in celebration of Miss Mihara. Her birthday was this weekend, and she celebrated with the family, and they're really grateful for us honoring her in this way, especially while she's alive. We can give her this awesome gift that will recognize all the years that she's been and seen the history of the Marianas since before we were a U.S. Territory. So it's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. Any more discussions on the floor? Ready? Okay, members, all in favor to adopt House Resolution number 22-19, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution number 22-19 is hereby adopted. With no further resolutions under resolution calendar, we now move down to item number 16, the bill calendar, and I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill number 22-95 SS1, a bill for an act to amend the Appropriations Act of fiscal year 2022, which is Public Law 22-08, to establish a business unit for retirees bonus and to reappropriate personnel lapses within departments and line item vetoes within Public Law 22-08 to fund the retirees bonus and for other purposes. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass House Bill number 22-95, Senate Substitute 1, and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? I recognize the Vice Speaker. Before we move on to that, there's been a request for a short recess, so we'll take a short recess. Before we went on recess, the vice speaker had the floor, so I recognize the vice speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a brief history of 2295 SS1. The Senate passed their version that took lapsed funds for WGIs, potential WGIs for the remainder of the fiscal year. And that was a concern that was brought up by a few government employees that their anniversaries are coming up after the fact of this legislation being passed by the Senate. So we reached out to OPM and they raised the same concerns. So with those concerns, we contacted the Secretary of Finance. The Secretary of Finance had assured that those monies were actually date backwards. So the first and second quarter monies that were supposed to be have been reserved for WGIs were already there. Unfortunately, fortunately, I guess those funds are not used up yet because the anniversary date comes up in May, June, July, August, and September. So those monies are available. In addition to those monies that were line item vetoed by the governor during the budget process under 22-8. So that freed up the money. The actual amount of money is actually greater than the $2.6 million that's needed to address the retiree bonuses and 1% to OPA. So just a little brief history so that there's knowledge that this is not going to affect the government employees that are due up for their WGIs. And even in the submission of the budget proposal, which became 22-8, the WGIs were being addressed by the ARPA fund. So this won't touch the WGIs that will be or the individuals, government employees that will be receiving their WGIs forward after this bill becomes law. So with that being said, Mr. Speaker, I'm ready to support 22-95 SS1. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. I now recognize Representative Selena Babalta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that explanation, Vice Speaker. But due to what may be perceived as a conflict of interest, I will abstain from voting. While I fully support the bonuses for the retirees, my husband is a retiree, and I will indirectly benefit from this bonus, so I will be abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Selena Babalta. Any more discussions on the floor? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to express my appreciation to our colleagues in the House, and especially Vice Speaker BJ Atto and Chairman Donald Manglonia, for the leadership that has been shown in, one, supporting the retiree bonus, and two, making sure that this bonus was appropriated the right way. Meaning, in the form of legislation as an amendment to the Budget Act, originating in the House as constitutionally required, identifying the sources of funding, and without granting unlimited 100% reprogramming power to the governor, which now the administration acknowledges, the Department of Finance acknowledges, was never necessary in the first place. I also appreciate our Senate colleagues and the Department of Finance for at last bringing to the table the information that we've been asking for, identifying the sources of funding, and again, acknowledging that this 100% reprogramming power was not needed to make this bonus available to our retirees. I do wish we could have come to this table together sooner, but it is what it is, and I'm glad that we are all at the same table now. I'm ready to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Recognize Leader Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in that same regard, I also want to express my appreciation to the members of the Senate and our colleagues here in the House and the administration for finally coming together and finding a resolution to this matter. We've seen it go in numerous different directions, and it became really worrisome for our own retirees and not so much for the legislature. So to finally get to this point, and I'm hoping that at the end of this roll call, this bill will be sent to the governor for action. And I too am ready to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader Demapan. I now recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the author of this bill, initially 22-95 was introduced to counter the 22-91, and what the Senate had proposed was the 100% reprogramming authority. But as Rep. Sablan had mentioned, all we ever really wanted was to ensure that the monies will be taken out from or will be identified, and that's what this substitute did. And again, I would like to thank the Vice Speaker for going the extra mile to ensure that WGIs will not be affected for employees not meeting their anniversary date yet. But moving forward, a part of a transparent and accountability. Part of being transparent and accountable for the funds, it's important to identify where these monies are coming from so that we can carefully plan out, the next budget or the next request that we receive from any agencies. And so with what the Senate had substituted, we're more than ready to support this version. It's something that I know our retirees have been waiting for, and we thank them for their patience. And so I fully support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor Leader, recognize Representative Richard Lizama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, everyone, for this bill that we're now to pass for the retirees. I want to speak on behalf of the retiree as myself, a retiree, but I am not receiving my pension due to my situation or position right now. But I want to thank them for being patient, and I know that they are the backbone of the cinema progress and the economy. With this $1,000 bonus that will be given to each retiree, will benefit them for sure. As we all know that they have been suffering due to COVID-19 pandemic, and the prices have gone up due to the war in Ukraine. So I salute them and thank you for your patience and the job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lizama. Any further discussions on the floor? Ready? I now recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Vada,
Good.
Representative Batao,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta,
Abstain.
Representative Joel Kamatsu,
Good.
Representative Vicente Gamatsu,
Yes.
Representative Damapan,
Hungan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero, Representative Lizama,
Good.
Representative Mangofia,
Ungan.
Representative Mangolonia,
Yes.
Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative Nicholas, Representative Staffler,
Hungan.
Representative Yanktamai.
Awar.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 16 members voted yes and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Clerk. With 16 voting yes and 1 abstention, House Bill number 22-95, SS1, hereby passes the House. I now recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Bill number 22-80, a bill for an act to have the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, CNMI, join the Psychology Interjurisdictional Compact, or SIPAC, to improve and expand access to mental health care in the CNMI and for other purposes. So,
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass House Bill number 22-80 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this legislation, House Bill 2280, represents the first step that the Commonwealth must take in order to join the Psychology Interjurisdictional Compact, known as SIPAC, which would greatly improve and expand access to mental health care services for residents in the CNMI. We are aware of a significant and urgent need for increased mental health care across the nation, really, but acutely so here in the Marianas, especially in the aftermath of multiple typhoon disasters and a global pandemic in a relatively short period of time. The CNMI is considered an underserved area, and mental health care providers here report that their patients commonly must endure long wait times from months to even over a year before they're able to get care. SIPACT helps bridge the gap in underserved areas like ours. The compact enables residents in participating SIPACT states to more easily access a larger pool of licensed mental health care professionals in participating states, particularly through the practice of telepsychology, as well as licenses to conduct temporary practice in participating SIPACT states. SIPACT also expands access to specialized mental health services that are often not available in areas like ours, such as services for people with autism or for LGBTQ youth. And while SIPACT helps ease regulatory barriers in order to allow practice across state lines, across jurisdictions, it also provides a mechanism for rigorous screening and vetting of providers, and ensuring the competent and ethical practice of psychology across SIPACT states. So colleagues, this bill has received strong support across our community of mental health care professionals, including providers in private practice, in our school system, and in the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation and the Community Guidance Center. The Healthcare Professions Licensing Board, which would play a central role in the implementation of SIPACT here in the CNMI, has also expressed their support for the passage of this bill. And I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to review this legislation, all the members of the committee, the staff for their diligence in presenting this bill to the full House, and I ask for your support as well today, colleagues. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Any further discussions on the floor? Ready? All right, I now recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Vata,
Yes.
Representative Vatao,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babauta,
Ungat.
Representative Joel Camotso,
Uga.
Representative Vicente Camotso,
Yes.
Representative Damapuan,
Good.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero, Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Magovnia, Representative Manglotnia,
Yes.
Representative Probes,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative Siniclas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Hungan.
Representative Yangtamay.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker,
I would.
Mr. Speaker, all 17 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 17 members present voting yes, House Bill number 22-80 hereby passes the House. With no more bills under bill calendar, we now move down to item number 17, miscellaneous business, and the floor is open. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just for the members' information, I sent the tentative schedule for the budget hearings to all Ways and Means members. I will be finalizing that schedule by Friday after I get feedback from all the members. Basically, that's so that you guys can reserve those dates as well as plan for any public hearings that you would like on the other senatorial districts. If any of the dates conflict with any major events in your committee, please let me know and I'd be happy to move them. But for now, if no one has any objections by end of business tomorrow, then I'll publish that schedule by Friday so that we may begin. Again, we are looking to start budget hearings on May 11th with the Secretary of Finance or the Department of Finance to be the first agency to bring in addition to asking questions about the proposed budget from the governor. In addition, we hope to finish by mid-June so that the fiscal analyst and LA can finalize the package, the budget package, in anticipation of a budget amendment come July 1st, which is the deadline. And so if there's any amendments to that submission, then we have about another week after that July 1st to make the corrections and adopt the product so that the Senate can have ample time to review the House version. If you have any questions or you would like to have your public hearings coincide with the budget hearings on Rhoda or Tinian, please let my office know so that we can coordinate and get that planned out. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor leader, floor is still open under miscellaneous. Ready? All right, we now move down to item number 18, announcements. Floor is open. Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to invite our colleagues to a presentation today. It's sponsored by the Humanities Council, a presentation of photography from across Micronesia, including the Northern Marianas, photos dating back to the 1960s. This is sponsored by the Humanities Council, Mr. Floyd Takauchi, a longtime photographer, writer, veteran journalist of more than 40 years. He's based in Hawaii, but is here on island. After being gone for several years, he was actually born in the Marshall Islands in the 1950s and grew up on Saipan, went to Hopwood High School, and went on to become a journalist, working in the Pacific Daily News and the Micronesian News Service. Took photos that whole time, and he'll be sharing some of those today. He actually covered the CNY's very first election back in 1978, and has great stories, great historical knowledge, and it would be a great opportunity for anyone in the community to be able to join the presentation tonight. It will be at the American Memorial Park Visitor Center. Doors open at 5:30. It starts at 6, and it's free and open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Recognize Representative Leila Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to let the general community know that Precinct 5 will be hosting a basketball tournament for youth in the month of May. And the last day to sign up for teams across the island, it doesn't matter what precinct they live in, but we want to invite them all the way to Precinct 5 to play ball. And so the last day to sign up for teams will be on Friday. The online sign up is a Google form. The address is really simple: bit.ly/capital P5 capital HOOPS P5 hoops. Please join us. And if you are down in the precinct in May, come and watch some games in the evenings. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. Recognize Representative Yankton.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm making an announcement for the Rematau Music Society Incorporated, or RMS. They are trying to raise funds to buy instruments. So they are selling tickets, $10 a booklet of 6 coupons or 6 tickets, and the drawing will be in June. They're gonna make your life exciting on June 26th. So at the Carolinian Ut, they're inviting all of you to go there and enjoy the music outdoors, because you're just staying in the house listening to music. So you should get outdoors. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Yankton. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we all know, Flame Tree is this weekend. I just want to invite you to come visit the Rhoda booth. My office is assisting the DCCA Rhoda and sending delegates, artists, and what's the term? Practitioners. So there will be tomorrow medicine there if any of you guys are trying to get pregnant, or pasmu, or all these stuff. They'll be selling those medicines on site. So please help support our Rhoda practitioners and artists, and so they'll be here this weekend to sell some of those stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, floor leader. I recognize Leader Damapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because I think Chairman Donald made a good segue into my comment. I'm not sure if we're going to have a session next week, so in preparation, in the event we don't have one, I want to wish all the mothers in this chamber a happy Mother's Day, and the mothers of the CNMI a happy Mother's Day, and those that are not yet mothers, visit visit the Rhoda booth.
Thank you, Leader Demapan. I recognize again Rep. Yanktamai.
Sorry, I forgot, in all of that excitement, I forgot to announce the phone number you should call to, buy the tickets. It's 989-9464, and it belongs to Mr. Jesus Elamito. Thank you. Viva.
Thank you, Representative Yanktamai. Representative Staffler.
Thank you, Speaker. One other announcement. My colleague, Rep. San Nicolas, and I would love to also let everyone know that the Tinian San Jose Fiesta is also this weekend. It is happening at the same time as the Flame Tree. So if you aren't going to the Flame Tree, please go to the Tinian Fiesta. And if you can go to both, go to both. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. Will they have the same stuff as the Rhoda booth?
I think they are probably all going to be there this time.
Okay. Thank you. Any further announcements? None. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, the Youth Congress will be presenting a resolution to the family of the my late staff, Kina. And so they will be presenting that at 1 o'clock. It's a very fitting day for that presentation, as well as she would have been 39 years old on this day. So if you have the time, I know Kina has helped everyone in this office, from the LB to each of your staff and your offices, and also to all the constituents around the precinct. So if you have the time, it'll be here in the House chamber at 1 o'clock. The Youth Congress will be presenting the resolution to the family. Thank you. Any further announcements? Recognize Representative Selena Babauti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to wish happy Administrative Assistance Day to everybody, and recommend that they hit up their bosses for their lunch. They're entitled to it. Certainly, we can't do our work and be organized without their assistance. So I want to recognize everybody's administrative assistance. Today's their day. Thank you for everything that you do for us and for all your bosses, including in the private sector. Thank you.
Are you sure you're done with that statement? I thought you said you're going to cover all our. All right. Any more announcements? Ready? All right. We move now down to adjournment, and I recognize the floor leader for the motion. One more, Representative Staffler, before we adjourn.
I'm so sorry, and I really appreciate you giving me this additional time. I do need to invite all of our colleagues to the community college presentation of the resolution that we passed today. It is on Friday at 1 o'clock. The location, I'm blanking right now because I almost forgot that one, but I will message you in the chat. If you are able to make it, please RSVP with me, because they need to know the numbers. I apologize, and I thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. Any more before we adjourn? Ready? All right. Floor leader for the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move to adjourn. Subject to the call of the chair.
Thank you, floor leader. Motion has been made to adjourn the session, has been seconded. Any discussions? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, stay. The ayes have it. This session is now here.